I still remember the day I found it. The small, leather-bound diary hidden beneath the mattress, its pages filled with secrets and lies. My husband's secrets, my husband's lies. I had always been a tidy person, a bit too organized, perhaps. But when it came to our home, I took pride in every corner, every crevice, every hidden space. So when I stumbled upon that diary, I knew it was hidden for a reason. I knew it was meant to be kept from me. My name is Sarah, and I've been married to John for 15 years. We have two beautiful children, Emily and Jack, who are the lights of our lives. John is a good provider, a hard worker, and a loving father. At least, that's what I thought. But on that fateful day, everything changed. I was changing the sheets, a task I did every week, when my hand brushed against something hard beneath the mattress. I pulled it out, and that's when I saw it. A small, worn-out diary with a pen tucked into its pages. My heart skipped a beat as I opened it, and my eyes scanned the pages, devouring the words written in John's familiar handwriting. The words blurred as tears pricked my eyes. I felt like I was reading someone else's story, someone I didn't know. The man I thought I knew, the man I had given my heart to, was a stranger. He was living a double life, one that I was a part of, but not really a part of. As I read on, my mind reeled with questions. How could he do this to me? To us? To our family? The more I read, the more I realized that I didn't know the man I had married. I didn't know the man I had trusted with my heart. The diary spoke of secret meetings, of lies, of deceit. It spoke of a life I didn't know existed. And as I closed the diary, I felt a numbness creep over me, a sense of betrayal that I had never felt before. I don't know how long I sat there, frozen in shock, as the world around me continued to spin. But when I finally came to, I knew that my life would never be the same. I remember the sound of the clock ticking in the hallway, the only sound in the silence that had fallen over our home. I sat there, diary in hand, as the world outside seemed to fade away. The smell of freshly brewed coffee wafted from the kitchen, a stark reminder of the normalcy that had been shattered. As I sat there, memories began to flood my mind. Memories of us, of our life together, the way John would smile at me, the way he would hold my hand, the way he would whisper, "I love you," in my ear. It was all a lie. Every moment, every touch, every word, a lie. I felt a wave of anger wash over me, followed by a deep sadness. How could he do this to me? To us? To our family? The questions swirled in my head, a constant loop of pain and confusion. I don't know how long I sat there, lost in my thoughts, before I heard the sound of the front door opening. John was home. My heart skipped a beat as I quickly hid the diary, trying to compose myself. I couldn't let him know that I knew. Not yet. As he walked into the bedroom, I forced a smile, trying to act normal. "Hey, honey," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "How was your day?" John smiled, oblivious to the turmoil brewing inside me. "It was good," he said, dropping his briefcase on the floor. "Just got a lot on my mind." I nodded, trying to keep my cool. "I understand," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I have a lot on my mind, too." John walked over to me, putting his arms around me. I felt a wave of revulsion, but I forced myself to stay still. "I love you," he whispered in my ear. I smiled, trying to keep the tears at bay. "I love you too," I said, my voice shaking. As he pulled back, I saw the look in his eyes, a look of guilt, of shame. He knew I was on to him, and he didn't know what to do. I knew I had to play it cool, to pretend like everything was normal. But inside, I was seething. I was planning plotting, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The next few days were a blur. I went through the motions, pretending like everything was normal. I cooked, cleaned, and took care of the kids, all the while seething with anger and hurt. John was oblivious to my turmoil, too caught up in his own secret life to notice the change in me. But I was watching, waiting, and planning. I knew I had to be careful, to not tip my hand too soon. So I played the part of the dutiful wife, smiling and laughing with John, all the while my mind was racing with questions and schemes. Who was she? How long had it been going on? Did he love her? The questions swirled in my head, a constant loop of pain and confusion. I knew I had to get more information, to dig deeper into John's secret life. So I started to snoop, going through his phone, his emails, his computer. I found messages, cryptic and coded, but enough to give me a lead. Her name was Rachel, a woman he had met at work. They had been seeing each other for months, sneaking around behind my back. I felt a wave of nausea as I read the messages, the words jumping off the screen. I knew I had to confront him, to finally get the truth. So I waited until the kids were in bed, until the house was quiet, and then I called him out. "John, we need to talk," I said, my voice firm and steady. He looked up from his phone, a look of guilt flashing across his face. "What's up, honey?" he said, trying to sound nonchalant. I walked over to him, the messages on my phone screen. "I know about Rachel," I said, my voice low and even. John's face went white, his eyes darting back and forth. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, trying to play dumb. But I wasn't having it. I showed him the messages, the evidence of his infidelity staring him right in the face. "Don't lie to me," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "Tell me the truth." John looked down, his shoulders slumping in defeat. Okay, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I was weak. I made a mistake." A mistake? A mistake? I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. How could he reduce it to just a mistake? The argument that followed was brutal, a screaming match that shook the walls of our home. John was sorry, he was weak, he didn't know what he was thinking. But I wasn't having it. I was beyond angry, beyond hurt. I was done. "You need to leave," I said, my voice cold and firm. "Get out of my house, get out of my life." John pleaded, he begged, he promised to change. But I was unmoved. I had heard it all before, and I knew that he would only go back to his old ways. The kids were crying, scared and confused by the shouting. I hugged them tight, trying to reassure them that everything would be okay. But I knew it wouldn't be, not for a long time. As John packed his bags and left, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. It was over. It was finally over. But as the days went by, I realized that it wasn't over, not by a long shot. John was still out there, living his life, seeing her, and I was left here, picking up the pieces of mine. I had to move on, to start over, but it wasn't easy. Everywhere I looked, I saw reminders of him, of us. The memories were painful, the what-ifs and the whys swirling in my head like a tornado. I knew I had to get out, to get away from it all. So I started to rebuild, to rediscover myself. I started taking classes, meeting new people, finding new hobbies. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. And slowly, I began to heal. The pain didn't go away, but it became manageable. I learned to live with it, to use it to fuel me. I started to see that I was stronger than I thought, that I was capable of more than I ever imagined. And I realized that I deserved better, that I deserved to be loved and respected. As I looked in the mirror, I saw a stranger staring back at me. a strong, confident woman, ready to take on the world. It had been months since John left, and I had slowly started to rebuild my life. The kids were adjusting, my friends and family were rallying around me, and I had even started dating again. It was a slow process, but I was healing. But there was one thing that still lingered in my mind, one thing that I couldn't shake. Rachel, the woman who had ruined my marriage, who had taken my husband away from me. I had never confronted her, never told her how I felt, and as time went on, I wondered if I ever would. Would it bring closure, or would it just open up old wounds? I was out with friends one night, having dinner at a restaurant, when I saw her. She was with John, holding hands, smiling at each other like they were the only two people in the world. My heart skipped a beat, and I felt a wave of anger wash over me. But as I looked at her, I saw something that made me pause. She looked happy, really happy. And I realized that I was happy too. I was happy that I was free, that I was moving on. I was happy that I had found myself, that I had discovered a strength I never knew I had. As I watched them, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. It was over. It was really over. I didn't need to confront her, didn't need to tell her how I felt. I just needed to let go. I got up and walked out of the restaurant, feeling a sense of closure that I had never felt before. I knew that I would always carry the scars of our marriage with me, but I also knew that I was ready to move on. The kids and I were doing okay. We were healing. We were finding our way, our own way. As I looked up at the stars that night, I felt a sense of gratitude. I was grateful for the lessons I had learned, for the strength I had found. And I knew that I would always be okay, that I would always be strong. As I looked back on the journey, I realized that it wasn't just about the betrayal, the hurt, or the anger. It was about the lessons I had learned, the growth I had experienced. I had learned to forgive, to let go, and to move on. I had learned that I was stronger than I thought, that I was capable of overcoming even the toughest challenges. And I had learned that I deserved to be loved, to be respected, and to be happy. The kids and I were doing okay. We were healing. We were finding our own way, our own path. And as I looked at them, I knew that they would be okay too. I took a deep breath and let go of the past. I let go of the anger, the hurt, and the resentment. I let go of the what-ifs and the whys. And I stepped into the future, into the unknown, with hope and with courage. As I finished telling my story, I looked up at the camera and I smiled. I smiled because I knew that I was not alone, that there were others out there who had gone through similar experiences. And I knew that I was here to tell my story, to share my lessons, and to help others. So, dear viewer, I ask you, what is your story? What are the challenges that you've overcome? What are the lessons that you've learned? Share them with me. Share them with the world. Let's heal together. Let's grow together. And if you're going through a tough time, if you're feeling lost and alone, please know that you're not alone. You're strong, you're capable, and you're loved. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. Please subscribe, share, and let's keep the conversation going.